Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session. So we're going to continue with the Infosys pattern, and we're also going to look at some more example for passage comprehension. I want to recap passage comprehension in terms of the approach and how to answer these questions. So let's quickly take a look at the pattern for Infosys. Like I had been saying, I'm going to repeat it again for you today. So there are two segments for Infosys selection. The first one is the written test, where you will have two categories: analytical reasoning or aptitude and verbal ability. For analytical reasoning, you will have 30 questions that needs to be answered in 40 minutes. And you will have topics on quantitative aptitude and reasoning. I'll give you the list of topics that you need to focus on. Then we also have verbal ability, which is 40 questions that needs to be answered in 30 minutes. Please remember, you need to clear the written assessment, both the categories, in order to qualify for the interview. In interview, you will have technical round and HR round. You need to clear both the rounds in order to get the offer letter or the call letter. Now, aptitude, you will have questions from data interpretation, syllogism, data sufficiency, problems on trains, time and work, permutation and combinations, number series, coding and decoding. And verbal ability, you will have questions from theme detection. We have already done the practice for that. Fill in the blanks, we'll try to look at certain examples today. Sentence correction, we'll try to do that tomorrow. Reading comprehension, you will have 2 paragraphs where each paragraph will have 5 questions each. So that's 10, and remaining 30, 10 each will be distributed across theme detection, fill in the blanks, and sentence correction. You can make use of the free app which is available on Google Play Store, Pocket Verbal Ability and Pocket Aptitude. This is how the apps will look like. Please install it. It's free of cost, so you don't have to pay for it. If you have an Android device, go to Google Play Store, search for Pocket Verbal Ability and Pocket Aptitude. So you can go ahead, download, and start practicing. I had been emphasizing on the need for practice. The more you practice, the better it is for you. Okay. Now let's move on to the passage comprehension part. I want to reduce this font size so that it's easily viewed on your television screen. So we're going to look at a few more examples for passage comprehension. Okay, here we go. I hope this is visible to all of you. Great. Okay. All right, let's start. The object underlying the rules of natural justice is to prevent miscarriage of justice and secure fair play in action. As pointed out earlier, the requirement about recording of reasons of its decision by an administrative authority exercising quasi-judicial functions achieves this object by excluding chances of arbitrariness and ensuring a degree of fairness in the process of decision making. Keeping in view the expanding horizon of the principle of natural justice, which govern exercise of power by administrative authorities, the rules of natural justice are not embodied rules. It continues here. I want to again bring it down so that it's easily viewed in your television screen. I hope this is fine. Okay. The extent of their application depends upon the particularly statutory framework whereunder jurisdiction has been conferred on the administrative authority. With regard to exercise of particular power by an administrative authority, including exercise of judicial or quasi-judicial functions, the legislature, which conferring the said power, may feel that it would not be in the larger public interest that the reason for the order passed by administrative authority be recorded in the order and be communicated to the aggrieved party, and it may dispense with such requirement. Now, when you read a paragraph like this, it's definitely difficult to comprehend what exactly it is about. Now, please understand, the way you solve these kind of questions is to make note or identify certain keywords in the paragraphs which will help you understand the summary or the gist of the entire passage. If I take you through the, let me just take you to the initial part which was covered for you. Now the comprehension tips that I'm talking about. Read the passage, underline key information. Now when I say underline key information, now in this particular passage that you saw, you don't have dates, years, numbers, persons, incidents or events. Instead what you have is certain key information. For example, the word judiciary, for example, the word legislature, for example, the word law. So that particular paragraph which we just saw is all about how a law is implemented, how a law or act is passed. So to understand the subject of the passage, which or what is the precise thing the author is talking about, the main idea of the passage, what the author is saying about the subject, and the tone. Is he speaking for or is he speaking against? In order to understand the gist, please try to identify the general idea and the structure and the tone. When you combine it all together, you will get the gist. This will also help to build a thematic composition and logical sequence of the passage. Please understand, you need not have complete knowledge of the passage that you are reading. It's not possible for you to know about everything in the world. For example, the passage which we just saw, it's all about law. Now, you guys are not law students, right? You are BSc or engineering students. So you don't really have to break your head that you don't know anything about the law and will you be able to answer questions. There are very simple ways or approach. I'm going to skip to the PQ or the QP approach. What you have on your screen right now is the PQ approach, which means passage first and question next. So read the entire passage thoroughly first and then read the questions. Scan through the passage and keep going back and forth with question and passage. Read the first two paragraphs, scan all the questions and see what you can answer. Basically, you see the paragraph, then go to the first question, see if you're able to answer. If you're not able to answer, go to question number 2. That is one approach. QP approach basically means you read the questions first, you also read the options, and then you look for which option is matching with one of the lines in the paragraph. That is the best way of doing it. So let me go back to our passage. I'm going to read this again and then we'll look at the question. The object underlying the rules of natural justice is to prevent miscarriage of justice. What do we mean by miscarriage of justice? Say, for example, a person is imprisoned for a murder. Now, the evidence says that he is innocent. Now, if the investigation is not done properly, if the judge is not applying his thought properly, if the lawyer is not able to prove properly, that means this innocent person will be held guilty. In our law system, what we usually follow, a person is innocent until he is proven guilty, right? You need to prove he has committed the crime, only then you can punish. But sometimes the evidence goes against the person, the arguments are not done properly. So when we talk about natural justice, it says the natural justice, the underlying rules of natural justice is to prevent miscarriage of law or miscarriage of justice, which means misapplication or a wrong application of a law where the person is not getting justice and he's an innocent has been held guilty. The rule in our country says even if one person who is guilty but is proven innocent, it's fine, but an innocent person should not be punished or held guilty. Okay, now let's read this. The object underlying the rules of natural justice is to prevent miscarriage of justice and to secure fair play in action. As pointed out earlier, the requirement about recording of reasons for its decision by an administrative authority exercising the quasi-judicial functions achieves this object. It should be this object by excluding changes of arbitrariness and ensuring a degree of fairness in the process of decision making. Keeping in view the expanding horizon of the principle of natural justice, which govern exercise of power by administrative authorities, the rules of natural justice are not embodied rules. The extent of their application depends upon the particularly statutory framework whereunder jurisdiction has been conferred on the administrative authority. With regard to exercise of particular power by an administrative authority, including exercise of judicial or quasi-judicial functions, the legislature, while conferring the said power, may feel that it would not be in the larger public interest that the reason for the order passed by administrative authority be recorded in the order and can be communicated to the aggrieved party and may dispense with such requirement. Again, the passage is complex, so best way is to find the questions and the question stem. The rules of natural justice are not embodied rules, means that these rules are left deliberately vague. Vague means unclear. Cannot be satisfactorily interpreted, means it cannot be understood completely by every person, are flexible or cannot be visualized. You cannot visualize how the application will happen. Okay? Read this question, look at the options, make a note of this. I am going to pause, make a note of this. Okay, now let me go back to the first paragraph. Now, the one keyword that you saw in the question is embodies rules. Okay, that word is here. Now, it says the rules of natural justice are not embodies rules, and the question is also saying that. But what does it mean? Start reading from here. Keeping in the view the expanding horizon of the principle of natural justice. Okay, all right. Now let's look at the question. And what do you think the correct answer is? Are flexible. It changes as per the arbitrariness and the application. Question number 2. From the passage, it is clear that it is the legislature that invests the administrative authority with enormous powers, embodies rules, has a larger interest of public welfare, leaves administrative authorities enough discretion to interpret rules. From the passage, it is clear that it is legislature that invests the administrative authority with enormous powers, embodies rules, has a larger interest of public welfare, leaves administrative authority enough discretion to interpret rules. What do you think is the correct answer? Okay, it invests the administrative authority with enormous power. Now, what do we mean by administrative authority? Legislature means the MPs in the parliament. Now, please understand how it works. This is about general knowledge. Okay, in India, the court passes judgment. These judgment, the judge passes the judgment, right? These judgment are based on the law which is formed. Now, who forms the law? The court doesn't form the law. The MPs form the law. The legislature means legislations, the people who are legislating authorities or representatives. They form the law in parliament and that becomes an act, and that is followed or that is implemented where the entire justice system in the country follows it. Okay. So a judge cannot create a law. A judge will only follow the law. Okay. Next, according to the passage, there is always a gap between rules of natural justice and their application, conception of a rule and its concretization, demand of natural justice and its realization, intention and execution. Let me okay. According to the passage, there is always a gap between rules of natural justice and their application, conception of a rule and its concretization, demand for natural justice and its realization, intention and execution. And the gap is between rules of natural justice and their application. To dispense with requirement means to do with the demand, to drop the charge, to cancel all formal procedures, to alter the provision of the case. Dispense means execution, right? To dispense with requirement means to do without the demand. According to the passage, natural justice, let me reduce this again. According to the passage, natural justice can be brought about by administrative authority remaining vigilant, administrative authority upholding rules of natural justice, administrative authority forming rules suitably, administrative authority observing the rules of fair play. Okay, and the correct answer is D. This box got disturbed a bit, and the correct answer is administrative authority observing the rules of fair play. Fair play means everything should be fair, everything is equal. Okay, we did look at this particular passage. Now I want to go to this one. Okay. Sometimes we went off the road and on a path through the pine forest. The floor of the forest was so soft to walk on, the frost did not happen it as it did the road. I'm sorry. But we did not mind the hardness of the road because we had nails in the soles and heels, nails bit on the frozen ruts, and with nail boots it was good walking on the road. Invigorating, it was lovely walking in the woods. It's basically an experience walking in a forest where there was a snowfall. And wherever there is a lot of ice and snowfall, you will have people wearing shoes which has nails so that they don't slip on the road. Okay. Now the question, frozen ruts mean very cold roads, wheel marks in which frost has become hard, the road covered with frost, hard roads covered with snow. Now there is a difference between frost and snow, please understand that. And the correct answer is C, which you just saw. The floor of the forest was soft because the forest did not harden it on account of trees. The travelers were wearing boots. The shoes had nails on their soles and heel. They enjoyed walking on the woods. And the correct answer is A. The forest did not harden it on account of trees. So wherever that's why we talk about trees, right? That there should not be deforestation. We did not mind the hardness of the road because we had nailed boots on. It was good walking on the road. The walk was refreshing. The nails bit on the frozen road. Bit means making holes. The correct answer is we had nailed boots on. We found great joy. Let me reduce it again. We found great joy on account of wearing nail boots, the good long walk on the road, walking occasionally through the forest, walking on frost with nail boots on. Now this is fairly easy. You should be able to answer this. The correct answer is the last one, walking on frost with nail boots on. Sometimes we walked through the pine forest as the path was unaffected by the frost. It was good walking with nails in the boots. The walk was invigorating. It was sheer joy to walk in the forest. The correct answer is the path was unaffected by the frost because of trees. Okay, so lot of passages we saw so far. Some passages were very difficult to understand, especially the one with the law and legislature, the one with the sociologist, even this one. Not easy to understand because you may or may not have the knowledge about the subject the passage is written about. Now, when you have a difficult situation like this, please understand that the idea is to have you comprehension of the passage, not the subject itself. That's why you can find any approach which is helpful. Like I told you, keep a stopwatch with you, try to follow the approach number 1, which is PQ, read the whole passage, then read the question and the options and find out the correct answer. Time yourself, how much time are you taking to answer those 5 questions. Then go to the next passage, find take the approach of QP, question first and passage next. Read the questions first with the options, try to find the answer in the passage and see which approach is consuming less time. But you also need to check that are your answers correct or not. I can take 5 seconds to answer 5 questions, but if all of them are incorrect, that means it's a disaster. So when you are checking your pace, checking your speed, you also need to make sure that the answers are also correct. So these are the 2 aspects which you need to keep in mind. I'm going to show you some examples on fill in the blanks. Now you will also have questions on fill in the blanks. You need to remember, okay, for example, you will have, when I say fill in the blanks, there is not essentially a blank space here, but the idea is to see if you are able to identify the correct word. Okay. The problem is the screen has a very different aspect ratio, the laptop has a different aspect ratio, so for every slide I have to kind of make changes. Okay, here we go. Extreme old age when a man behaves like a fool. So when we have people growing very old, they lose the sense of decision making. They lose their motor senses. What do you call that person? You call that person incorrigible. So these are so this is a synonym, antonym or one word substitute. You have a question. The study of ancient societies is called history. So these are basically one word substitute, but it can be in the form of fill in the blanks as well. So these are some of the questions where it's all about fill in the blanks. Now let me look at some questions which is on fill in the blanks as such. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this particular question. Oh God, I'm facing a lot of issues here. Just a moment. See, it's still not working. I don't know what to do now. The telephone dashed several times before I answered it. The telephone was ringing several times before I answered it. Has rung, had rung, would ring. Now this is about more in terms of the identification of the right tense form. So had rung is the correct answer. And this one, the second one, he passed the examination in the first class because he had worked hard for it. That's the second one. Okay. Likewise, you will have a lot of questions on these in this regard. I have to make changes for every question here. You need to give me some time. Just a moment. I'm just going to go ahead and read it, okay? Jawaharlal spent his childhood dash Anand Bhavan. So it should be at Anand Bhavan, in Anand Bhavan, on or across. The correct answer is at. Now you will use the word at, that's a preposition because it's talking about one particular building or there is a specific name for it. You will use in case if after the dash it's referring to a particular city. For example, he spent his childhood in Hyderabad, in AP, in India, in Asia. So for a largest place you will use in, otherwise you will use at. Some regions of our country still remain dash to the average man: inaccessible, impossible, impermeable, impenetrable. Now it's talking about how people, an average person wants to reach certain places, and inaccessible is the correct answer. I haven't seen you dash a week, within a week, since a week, for a week, from a week. I haven't seen you dash a week, for a week. Now since is used when the time is still continuing, okay? So now you have finally met the person, which means the time has ended. So you will use for. After the rain, the weather dash and the sun came out. After the after the rain, the weather cleared out, cleared up, cleared away, cleared off, and the sun came out. And the correct answer is cleared up. The weather always clears up, it doesn't clear out. An employment advertisement should dash the number of vacancies. Should provide, should specify, should contain, should declare. Now this is easy, right? It should specify. The stenographer is very efficient. He is dash to his firm. He is a boon, a credit, a blessing, an asset. And the correct answer is an asset. Now please understand, when you are working in an organization, when you are bringing a lot of values for the organization, you also become an asset. Okay? Human capital, the reason we call human resources as human capital, because the companies are also investing in you. Capital means what? The building, the machinery, all this is a capital, but you are also in capital. Next, nobody can dash me to do anything which I do not want to do. Nobody can encourage me, nobody can request me, nobody can oppose me, nobody can compel me. Compel means what? Force, to force, or compulsion. So nobody can compel me to do anything which I do not want to do. It is very kind of you to dash to speak at the meeting. It was very kind of you to accept, to agree to speak, to comply to speak, to conquer to speak. And the correct answer is agreed. It's very kind of you to agree to speak at the meeting. Now sentence correction. You will have fill up the blanks. You will also have sentence correction. Okay. Now what you need to do is you will have a part of a sentence which will be underlined that needs to be corrected. If you feel it doesn't need any correction, the whole sentence is accurate, then you will choose option E, which is no correction required. Okay. The small child does whatever his father was done, has done, did, does, had done, or no correction required. So the correct answer is does. The small child does whatever his father does. Because we say that children always follow their parents. Whatever parents do, the kids also do the same because they learn from them. You need not come unless you want to. Now if you see, this whole question is marked in red, which means the whole sentence could be wrong. But if it's not wrong, you can choose option E. Now what is the correction options we have? You don't need to come unless you want to. You come only when you want to. You come unless you don't want to. You need not come or needn't come until you don't want to. Now read the question again, or the question stem again. You need not come unless you want to. Means if you don't want to come, you don't come. So what is the correct one here? The first one. You don't need to come unless you want to. Next. There are not many men who are so famous that they are frequently referred to by their short names only. Now short names, is it short names or initials, signatures, pictures, or middle names? Or is it no correction required? The correct answer is initials. There are a lot of people where they are referred to with only the initials, right? Like JFK. John F. Kennedy is always referred as JFK. He never has and ever will take such strong measures. Options. He never had taken nor will ever take such strong measures. He never had taken and will ever take such strong measures. He never has and never will take such strong measures. He never had and ever will take such strong measures. Please read it, understand it, and find out what is the correct answer. He never has and ever will take such strong measures, had taken nor will ever take, had taken and will ever take, has and never will take, had and ever will take. The correct answer is option A. He never had taken nor will ever take such strong measures. Next, technology must use to feed the forces of change. Technology must use to feed the forces of change. Options. Technology must be used to feed the forces of change. Technology must have been using to feed the forces of change. Technology must use having fed the forces of change. Technology must be using to feed, or no correction required. This is very easy. Option A is the correct answer. Technology must be used to feed the forces of change. Anyone interested in the use of computers can learn much if you have access to a personal computer, if they have access to a personal computer, if access can be available to a personal computer, if he or she has access to a personal computer, one of them have access to a personal computer, or no correction required. Now please notice the subject here is anyone. Okay? The correct answer is he or she. Please remember, anyone, someone, no one, anything, nothing, everything, all this is considered as singular. Now when you have they, that's a plural form, so they don't match. So you need to have he or she because it's talking about singular person or singular subject here. They are not beware of all the facts. They are not aware for all the facts. They are not aware of all the facts. They are not to be aware of all the facts. They must not be aware for all the facts, or no correction required. Okay, the correct answer is B. They are not aware of all the facts. Now beware is different, aware is different. Not beware, it doesn't make sense. We cannot always convey ourselves in simple sentences. We cannot always convey. We can not always express. We cannot always express. Cannot always communicate. Option C, cannot always express ourselves in simple sentences. What does agonize me most is not this criticism, but the trivial reason behind it. Agonize me means to bother me or to make me upset. Options: what more agonizing me, what agonizes me most, what agonizing me most, what I most agonized, or no correction required. Okay, what agonizes me most is not this criticism, but the trivial reason behind it. Next, as there was no time, the remaining items were deferred into the next meeting, or the remaining items were deferred till, are deferred till, were deferred till, were deferred to, had deferred with. And the correct answer is B, were deferred till. Now, why is it were? The sentence talks about past tense, as there was no time. If it says as there is no time, then you can say are, okay? Because plural of is are, plural of was is were. That's why were is the correct answer, B. The man who has committed such a serious crime must get the mostly severe punishment. The man who has committed such a serious crime must be getting the mostly severe, must get the most severe, have got the most severely, have been getting the severe most, or no correction required. And the correct answer is B, must get the most severe punishment. Mostly is a wrong word here. For many centuries in Indian history, there was no city so famous like the city of Ujjain. There was no city so famous as the city of Ujjain, such as the city of Ujjain, likewise the city of Ujjain, so like Ujjain. And the correct answer is as. Now, when you say like, you are comparing, but here there is no comparison. It's exactly talking about one city only. For many centuries in Indian history, there was no city so famous as the city of Ujjain. That means it was the most famous. So there is no comparison there. We don't know how did the thief made an escape. We don't know how the thief did make. We don't know how the thief does make. We don't know how the thief made. We don't know how was the thief made. The correct answer is C. We don't know how the thief made an escape. Later he became unpopular because he tried to lord it on his followers. He tried to lord it for, he tried to lord over, he tried to lord it over, he tried to lord it over on. The correct answer is C. He tried to lord it over. The crops are dying, it must not had rained. The crops are dying, it must had not, it must not be, it must not have, I'm sorry, it must not have been. Now have been is incorrect because it's rained here, right? So the correct answer is C. It must not have rained. The courts are actively to safeguard the interest and the rights of the poor. The courts are actively to safeguarding. The courts have been actively safeguarding. The courts have to active in safeguarding. The courts are actively in safeguarding. This is easy, and the correct answer is the courts have been actively safeguarding the interest and rights of the poor. The drama had many scenes which were so humorous that it was hardly possible to keep a straight face. To keep a straight face means what? Not laughing. Okay. Now options. The drama had many scenes which were so humorous or funny that it was hardly possible for keeping. It was hardly possible for keeping. It was hardly impossible for keeping. It was hardly impossible for keep. It was hardly possible keeping a straight face, and no correction required means the sentence is absolutely correct. The drama had many scenes which had so many humorous, it was so humorous that it was hardly possible to keep a straight face. Clear? So like these you will get more than total of 10 questions that you will get on sentence correction. You will get 10 questions on fill in the blanks, 10 on theme detection, and 2 passage comprehension of 5 questions each. So that becomes 10. Please practice as much as possible. You will find a lot more other videos in this particular channel. If you're watching, just search with Infosys pattern. You will also find a lot of videos on aptitude as well. So practice as much as possible. We're going to have this session for 3 more days, so don't worry about it. As much as possible we'll cover, and please post your comments and questions on the comment section of the YouTube video. I'll take a look and provide you with the answer. Okay, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.